Nymeara, and we are into our last series of the day. Now, we are a little bit behind, so we've been catching up a little bit, obviously, but it is a 1-0 start and a dominant one as the Tiger King of Spring showed his fangs, and now FPX's rebuttal. MilkyWay! He gets the Xiaohu finally! Like, I feel like this guy has been completely taken off the board for this one. He's wanted it, and we'll see if he can pull it out for FPX now.
The Jazz ring out in background as well. Saw an Ari cosplay there. I appreciate that as well.
Of course
I have to point these things out. Anyway, that's the draft on the bottom of it as well. So the Xiaohu did make it through the draft. We see Life getting the Rumble support. Of course, FPX played so much of the Ashe Rumble in spring. It is definitely a flex pick for them. The lockdown has now come down from ZDZ. Not the best engage coming in from FPX, especially compared to the Rel and from the Cannon on the other side. I think that this is very much an FPX draft. They have drafted boldly in the past, but not easy unless Care has a ridiculous game with the CC.
I'm a little worried for the just amount of sheer damage that FPX have for Weibo, but also a little bit of that double-edged sword of they need to find some stable pieces, because oh my goodness, I could not even imagine if you get into a 5-on-5 situation where you're going up against some serious scaling combos that Weibo can pull off in those objective fights. So we'll see, especially if FPX can kind of keep the tempo going for them. They have a lot of strength through their solo lanes earlier.
They do. I will say, you know, it's always important to just point out the Xiaohu Lucian as well. He has found so much comfort on this. Gets that, yeah, look at this lane domination. Xiaohu was the player who really made Lucian mid a large thing in pro play. For those of you that weren't watching back then, Season 6 MSI, so back in 2016, almost, you know, it's, what, 8 years ago now. He built it up versus Faker's Orianna in the group stage, and he solo killed him a bunch on it, because no one knew what Lucian mid did at that time. He was one of the very first players to do it, and he made it very successful. And then, of course, many years later, he ended up, yeah, this dude's meant to be in bot lane, what do you mean? And then he took it mid lane, and then he took it top lane later on as well, where he also played stuff like Syndra. This key has been crucial to Xiaohu's return to form. I think that the Lucian, and then of course we saw the Cork in the last game as well, I think has benefited from him gaining confidence and gaining his understanding of the game. He played this top lane to win an MSI title back in 2021 as well. He's getting huge lane pressure here over Care. He's one of the best Lucian players to ever do it in solo lanes. It's like him and Khan and Anakuni and like, what do you do here? Xiaohu picks up this champion. Like, what do you do? Mid lane is not a 1v1. It is a 1v3, and Care is currently not even being able to hit minions.
And I actually like this because Tarzan is foregoing a lot of his jungle advantage and maybe trying to find an advantage for Xiaohu to play through. MilkyWay did invade over onto Tarzan's jungle. He had already completed that side clear, and now they're looking at this mid lane play. Weibo, they're caught here, maybe. Well, Life has come over. Oh, they get the engage onto him, and now Light is over here. Life going to be forced to flash. Is he going to make it out alive, though? The Jets getting him to safety.
So the grand total of this is mainly just Care feeling very sad. FPX don't manage to slap back with a kill. They do get double flashes, triple flashes. Anyway, oh god, so much CC.
Oh,
Care.
he's got to go back.
In trouble now.
No, he doesn't have flash.
It's just a timer.
Oh no, he does have the cleave. The shield coming out, and they saw that Life and MilkyWay were maybe collapsing. At least Life instead.
Yeah, I think that Crisp just didn't have the cooldowns back. I thought that was going to be a certain kill. Not to be the case. FPX jungle support do bail things out, and now they're on the move. What an active early game this has been. Both jungle supports trying to get across the map.
You have to be for the Shyvana.
I guess you kind of have to be, but particularly having Life on this high damage support at early levels coming through as well can really turn the tables. Not much lockdown, a lot of damage. Tarzan is towards topside. Well, no, rather it's Crisp towards topside, trying to help up breathe on the turret.
So Crisp is over here against his organization, against the team that he made a world champion, saying, no, you're not allowed to dive my top laner. I'm going to be everywhere you want to make plays at, and he has found a lot of those roams because of the safety that Light has in the bot lane.
Yeah, this is, you know what, I love seeing early games like this when the jungle support just choose to make things happen. I think in pro play, there is always every early game is typically determined by either how brute force your lanes are or also your movements of jungle support. I think recently in the LPL it's been much more about your strong lanes. It's why we've been seeing so many of these powerful individual top lane laning picks, because it helps really organize your top side of the map, and the same kind of thing in bot lane with stuff like the Ashe Braum can really help with that too. But once you get that jungle support on the roam, it really changes the flavor of the game, and the way that you play through your jungle support often determines your style as a team as well. And we can see that both the teams very, very active early on, and Tarzan trying to get active into mid lane very, very early on too. MilkyWay does get a camp steal away. You were calling out how the Shyvana really wants to be active early. The quicker you get to your core items on this Shyvana, which we've seen in the jungle going towards Shodan and then the Leandris for huge amounts of percentage damage increases from your items, maybe even going towards stuff like the actually, no, he's going something different. He's going for towards, looks like a Nash's Tooth there. Earlier on, we saw the percentage increase there. We'll see what MilkyWay's got for us in the build.
Oh, care. A couple little love taps from Xiaohu as soon as he hits that level 6 mark. And I mean, I'm just going to say a statement right now. You can call me bold. Xiaohu might be Care's daddy here in the mid lane because, my goodness, he has just, in both games, kept so much pressure up there. I mean, obviously, getting a couple kills early in that first game helps a lot, but maybe something for Weibo to play around, or for FPX to try to punish if he overextends too far.
This is something you can do against Yone. You don't see it that often, which is you just zone him off the first few levels. And Yone is the kind of person who stat checks logs. Where's he going? He's going towards mid lane. Tarzan's going to be there too.
The flash, they got him! They needed to punish him, and they do. Care comes away with the first blood for FPX.
ZDZ blows his flash, blows his ult, but it's an important kill into that mid lane. Care finally gets himself some resources. MilkyWay not level 6 yet. He's not that powerful before that ultimate is upgraded. ZDZ still in the river though, still has gold cards. Tarzan going to stop FPX at just that one grub taken. He'll take the other two for himself.
No grub again this time. Both teams contesting on every side of the map so far. I will say it's nice to see FPX maybe put a little bit more presence down here on the spot side. Dragons do end up paying dividends for Shyvana. They also do a little bit more damage to it, so it makes it a little easier to clear, as FPX will be on the spot side taking that dragon after the pressure Deokdam and Life have.
Also, another important thing is, despite the fact that we had jungle support movements, which can sometimes favor one bot lane or the other, I think that Deokdam has had a much more solid position in lane this time. He has been struggling in lanes recently. Of course, the early bot side dies from game 1 was so destructive from Weibo, so that's not going to be complete blowout from FPX, where somehow Xiaohu picks up 6 kills in the early game. It's quite that same level.
Very
shutting
different.
down the MVP from go. It is in fact a very different kind of game when your mid laner doesn't have 6 kills in gold. Too much, like 1800 or something like that if it's 300 each. It's frankly too much.
It was just too much. We are level 6s now, engaged. So the Dragon's Descent for MilkyWay. Look to see how often he's willing to use that one. Dragon, though, was started up pretty late by him. Xiaohu stepping up here. He has a lot of weapons in his inventory to put down Care. The Dragon does end up getting completed with the move up from bot lane of FPX.
And MilkyWay, very quick to clear through those as well. Gold card in the top side from ZDZ. ZDZ doing more than fine here. Stun, in fact, traded out by Breathe. Was afraid to let an extra card go through. Of course, Twisted Fate. Twisted Fate's going to be really important into this matchup because what TF into Cannon allows you to do, if not win the lane, it allows you to at least bring that exhaust into team fights later on. So ZDZ, we'll have to see how he uses that.
Actually, just going to collapse to try to get more turret plates on this bot side. So nice to see them try to lean maybe to a new strength in the Wombo combo that can maybe back up MilkyWay if they can, because Deokdam and Life, I mean, if we look at the composition as a whole from FPX, there's a couple of wonky pieces, but it's all about damage here, and I love that.
FPX, you know, funny you mentioned that. FPX have largely been about wonky compositions throughout this split anyway. There was a really memorable game for me in group stage where they faced off against JDG. I think it was the second game in their second round robin, where they played the Diana Braum, and that whole composition ended up being a really slim win condition where you get a crazy dominant. I guess another killing mid lane force out there. Xiaohu, again, his Lucian is just so disgusting. There's a reason they they pulled that ultimate in mid lane early from the TF. But you know, FPX, they are a team which have quite often gone towards quite weird compositions, which are difficult to play, but they use it all the same. That's going to be a jump over the wall, surely.
Xiaohu, there's a dragon there. He's going to flash the dice anyways. It's MilkyWay that picks it up. That's really big for FPX. They're going to be splitting their gold between this mid-jungle duo that has so much strength.
Okay, so the Lucian trades well, but if you dash forwards into 3 people, that doesn't work out so well for you. So Life and MilkyWay, they both use their ultimates as this cast. There's 3 ults and a flash out of Care at the same time, but it's still your own flash and it's still your own life being lost. Lucian is not the same champion when you're not being as lane dominant. ZDZ is going to have a visit from Life, Exhaust Pull.
Destiny, try to get on the other side of Breathe. Breathe realizes there's probably more trouble coming his way, and as he sees life, you'll know the Flame Spitter's coming out. Slicing Maelstrom off the wave there and try to get some damage on the life, but he knows what is coming for him, and it's a card straight to the back, and ZDZ picks up another one. 3-0 start. The TF thumbs down, and it's a thumbs up all the way for FPX in this early game.
Wow, I thought it was only Wayward that was doing that. ZDZ really
Everybody's doing it. We saw Tien do it too earlier. Like, it's crazy.
ZDZ, this is his third team in a year. Started, of course, on Weibo. He was the top player which Weibo had with, of course, Xiaohu earlier. Then he went over to RNG. Now he's on FPX. Maybe there's a bit of personal vendetta in there as well. Been the architect of many of these early plays from FPX. He's had some good early games with FPX before, despite him being their team's third top laner this year. I guess the new only kind of half counts because he came up from Academy just for one replacement game. But Xiaohu was replaced by ZDZ largely, and he doesn't have his summoners or his ult right now to influence this. Weibo should be getting away with all 5 of the grubs that he could get after the first spawn went down, so there'll be 5 to them most likely.
ZDZ has been extremely lane focused as, yeah, no, there's a dragon there. Oh, it's going to be the one taken by MilkyWay, so the trade ends up going down a little bit more in favor of Weibo as they'll have 4 total. God, that damage is ridiculous anyways onto a squishy member, but it is something of a later thing to recircle back to because they'll have just extra damage on the siege. You already see another plate going down to Weibo.
And also, let's just check in with that build again, confirming that it is the Nash's Tooth being built in first from MilkyWay, so it gives you obviously a good amount of ability haste. Chris might be onto ZDZ. He has that flash, might be forced to blow it at some points. He's not going to be very tanky. Breathe does have his ult back up. He doesn't have the flash to instantly stun. ZDZ, he knows something's happening. He knows something's happening.
What's in the cards?
How safe is he going to be?
Oh, he's got the CC chain on him. Is he able to use the flash? He does get out of the crash down. Nobody can follow. Oh, the Requiem. Is it enough? And no, not enough, but it's the end up burn that comes through. The Blackfire Torch comes out, and that's big for Tarzan to get something back.
Yeah, did Tarzan just get the Blackfire off of that, or did he get it during that? Either way, the burn helps with that. Xiaohu teleports to this lane. They have the 4 grubs. They'll get themselves a plate, so Xiaohu gets himself a bit of gold before going elsewhere on the map. He's going to take over this top lane role as Breathe goes for a recall, and they share that plate gold. Breathe will be going down towards that bot turret to make sure he can contest Cat. This early game has been so active. I love this man. You know, we came off of a very different style of early game from Anyone's Legends and LNG, particularly when it came into the mid game where we talk about how LNG were a very organized team. I love that both LNG and Weibo have both shown a level up in form from groups. And yes, this is what we probably should have been seeing from them the entire year. By the way, I'm going to praise them for recovering their form, but they should have been here at this point before because they're very different teams in the LPL. And I like the variety is the spice of life, and I want to see more of that in the LPL. The fact that we have 17 teams, and our top teams did include Weibo and LNG, of course, last year. They went to the World Championship. If they are on form, they play very different style of League of Legends. Weibo, one of the teams which is most likely to go towards wider map setups, playing through side lanes heavily, through big skirmishes. LNG, they're a very organized team with big focusing on taking a towers. And yes, there is a sideline aspect to that, but it's more about how that then sets up for their bigger 5v5s later on. Weibo, if they are playing on better form, things get much more interesting, but FPX, they are punishing them at their own style right now, and it is about the skirmish. He has his ult again. Dragon's going to be taken. It's going to be easily out from FPX, but where is that next Destiny gate going to go towards? I think ZDZ is the real conductor of this early game for FPX.
Yeah, he kind of has to be. That yellow card's going to provide a lot of chaining behind it if he can find it as well. And back to that kind of conversation about Weibo, the thing is, you look at the track record and like they beat JDG, and that was like the entrance into the Rumble stage. We're like, oh my god, this is incredible, Weibo, what has happened? But they have lost to a lot of the top teams across that track record here, even to the 4-3 record they have.
And that's why it gets quite hard to judge a team like this. Obviously, they're 4-3, so they're not necessarily a top team. But the fact that they are still contending, they got into the Ascension group and they got here, that's the more important thing, really, because I mean, when it
the
comes to Weibo,
results-based analysis, I love it.
Well, to an extent, it just helps that they can contend here. Look, they're in the mix of things. Their seeding is probably going to be in flux. We'll see if they win today, whether they can get themselves higher seeding and contend for ever higher and higher spots. Of course, with Anyone's Legend losing earlier today, that gives Weibo an extra little bump as well, because they won't be able to overtake them if Weibo were to win in this series as well. FPX, they're in a bit of an odd series too, because they definitely get it. Of course, all of our teams are locked in towards players, but it's looking increasingly more likely. Oh my god, flash forward.
Oh, ZDZ's got the Destiny. He is out of there. Requiem, they're waiting for the cooldown. He's not going to be up.
Oh, it's too long. He He flashed for the wall of pain to get the magic resist shred to then try and kill him with the last.
He still hasn't backed yet.
He hasn't backed yet. I think he's just killed. I think he's just killed himself. I think Tarzan might be able to do it. Do they know he's recalled?
Nah, there's no way. They think he's already gone. Yeah, Xiaohu does take a side lane turn. That's first turret there for Weibo.
Yeah, the reason we're getting so the thing is, if they knew he hadn't have recalled, that probably could have been a kill. Because they don't know he's recalled, then they don't know pulling that down. They don't have that that information. Like ease forwards, of course, MilkyWay has himself that ult as well. Now we haven't really seen that much of the Shyvana just yet. We know how powerful the Shyvana can be by jumping onto an isolated target. So MilkyWay at a point of power. How's that Nash's tooth? Big burst, less tanky than going towards the Shojin, but does have a lot of upfront damage.
First items going to be available for all the people that matter in terms of damage, at least. Support's going to be left out, but Xiaohu jumps on the life with Crisp going in. Does end up missing the engage there. MilkyWay goes in with the Dragon's Descent, and Dragon's gobbling up one. Crisp burnt to a crisp, and Tarzan about to give his life over here. Bullet time canceled, but gets the kill first. Requiem, is it going to be enough? Deokdam, he is not going to go down. Blackfire Torch is not nearly enough damage yet.
Yeah, Tarzan just gets caught out a little bit on the terrain. Deokdam blows both summoners, but gets the kill. 5-1 in kills in the early game, with Cass still staying on the sideline. This is good for FPX. There's going to be a teleport potentially back in. Deokdam, no summoners. That's going to be a breathe cannon going straight towards him.
Oh, yeah, okay. I thought maybe he was strutting his stuff away, but breathe, add insult to injury. It's going to take him a little bit to go. Okay, Deokdam, he's got a little bit of move. He's got teammates. Breathe, no! Deokdam survives. MilkyWay with another one.
Breathe doesn't have the damage. He didn't have the ultimate, and the team comes to the rescue. This is now looking like a super solid early game from FPX. They get themselves, a good amount of kills, a good amount of gold up onto Weibo for the timestamp as well. This is going to lead to some really important gold going over to key members. MilkyWay 3-0-1 on that Shyvana. He's got himself a lot of damage, and you can see already that Breathe has really quite been struggling here. Breathe has been someone who's occasionally fallen prey to going too deep on his solo plays, knowing that he traded 1-for-1. That's how he lost that ultimate beforehand. Care took a good trade onto him, which means that he wasn't available to ult into the top side of the map and ult on top of Deokdam as well. Deokdam gets himself closer towards Infinity Edge as that second item. That'll be a big point of power.
And see FPX perform like this after taking two brutal 2-0s has been really, really nice. MilkyWay finally getting his hands on the Dragon Sticks, and he's doing really well with it so far. Crisp is your tank, by the way. MilkyWay, though, he's getting collapsed on now by Weibo. He's in some trouble. They got their Dragon Slayer cosplay on, and he's down. It goes to Breathe as well.
Very, very squishy. When you go towards that Nash's Tooth, you don't have any resist, and you don't have any HP like you do from Leandries and Shojin as your core. He's going towards full burst, but it means that you need to be very careful about how you ult forwards. You can get yourself into range, but you don't get yourself out of range very easily after that point. So ZDZ using that ultimate too, gets him towards bot lane, but that's a big cooldown now used from FPX. I wonder if that's a misused cooldown from ZDZ. That Destiny Gate's so very, very important. Still going to get himself towards that bot turret, though. Xiaohu might try and go for a bit of a longer play. Doesn't have himself the Merc Treads, though, just yet, which really does change that matchup. Probably does still need to go towards the Merc Treads just to shrug off gold cards. As
I just started talking about FPX's need to come back and the kind of troubles they've had here recently. Obviously, a big catch out for Weibo in mid lane, giving them a little bit of room to wiggle, but FPX going to start up a Dragon. This will be sole point for them as well, and they're bringing everybody here to make sure they get this decision-making power.
Weibo aren't even in position to contend with this. Breathe is in base as a Xiaohu. They are going to put down that health. You're going into a 3v5 right now, Chris.
Life is not tanky. There's the bait seal with the bullet time combo. You love to see FPX synergizing so well. It is the charge, though, about the Rift Herald from Weibo in the mid lane. Not going to get the turret here. FPX rebuff them.
To an extent, but that was in a 3v5, and it's a 1-for-1, and then you've now got a full health Breathe and Xiaohu with ults.
Requiem coming down, but it's not even going to be needed in the end, and it's actually Xiaohu comes away with this one and looking for more MilkyWay. Oh, the snipe! The combo from Light and Xiaohu as Weibo are finding their own give in this game. They finally take the lead.
And this is why that 1-for-1 in River looks a lot better for Weibo. Well, it was a lot better for Weibo than maybe it looks. They win in a 3v5, but then also Xiaohu, Breathe, and Light all still have more to give after that point. They get themselves onto the board in terms of 2 extra kills beyond that point too. And suddenly Weibo from an early game, which was not looking great for them, find themselves in a lead. Yes, they do have themselves that soul point to contend with for FPX, and that's definitely going to be a concern for them. Their macro options have been stifled a little bit. FPX can give up some dragons to maybe stall out this game and get towards their big items, but Weibo have pulled ahead in gold. They have a good gold lead now on Xiaohu and Tarzan, despite the fact that Xiaohu was shut down multiple times in the individual level. Weibo, much better combos from them after that dragon fight ended.
Been really nice to see, and maybe a little tad bit heartbreaking for FPX. You also have to remember that this is Weibo's last series until we get to see them in the playoffs, and it was a heck of an entrance into it. And if they start turning this one around, you wonder what that kind of momentum can lead for them. But FPX on the other side, they still have another series after them. They needed the momentum to finish out strong, and things are starting to lean Weibo's way.
And just as we said before, effectively, Weibo won. Well, they took a 1-for-1 before this, and then they still had tools left after this point. It was in a 3-for-5, and then suddenly Xiaohu comes onto the board, combos up like that, and Xiaohu, with his items, more than happy to get the assistance of that true shot barrage. MilkyWay just not tanky with this build, and will need to do a lot of damage to justify going towards that Nash's Tooth. The turnaround though was insane from Weibo. Risky build from MilkyWay.
It is indeed. You saw how really strong the dragon was earlier in this year. The Breathe versus ZDZ, though, slicing Maelstrom. You don't have any more damage. ZDZ trying to get it. ZDZ with the outplay, but here comes the Requiem. Gives the thumbs up as he goes down. Tarzan picking that one up.
ZDZ dies to his former team in Weibo once more. He's been trying to pull out the big plays, uses the ult to see inside the brush, gets himself the solo kill, but sadly it is never an honorable 1v1 with the Zakard this ult available. Tarzan gets himself another kill from his ultimate. That's going to, of course, take away that Destiny Gate, take away the flash and the exhaust as well from ZDZ. He's using a lot of tools to get himself these individual plays, but I wonder if that's an over-investment. Weibo, now they don't have to worry about that extra global, and of course that extra ability to deny breathe in that next fight when he'll have that ult, flash, and teleport.
Things are starting to teeter on their edge here for FPX. Gotta find a way to stabilize, as Tarzan is not going to get any easier to deal with. Those Requiems, they've been barely scratching the surface here. It's going to get a lot worse now, and especially he's on 2 items, but as time goes on, the scaling factors for Weibo and a lot of the damage they can output in these team fights is going to be big, and that's some of the stuff that we've been kind of highlighting from the start for them.
I do love how both these teams just have so much damage. The only person who's not doing real damage is sadly Crisp, who's playing against his old team, who's won his world championship, blah, blah, blah. He'll still have the CC to set up for everyone else. Of course, FPX, they have the Rumble support. He'll be doing a good amount of damage with just the Leandries, and then, of course, the Zazak's Realm Spike. Haven't had to say that item name for a while, ever since Lucian Nami kind of fell off a little bit. We saw a lot less of that. Life, though, which did so much work with this pick in spring. It was his specialty pick. The Ashe Rumble was their specialty bot lane. And now we get ourselves into a mid-game where everyone has so much damage. Everyone can explode in the brink of an eye breathe. And Crisp trying to combo up on this bot side. ZDZ doesn't have his ult just yet. He's not currently seen, but has just spotted him. He's been spotted on the wave now as he heads out of that brush.
So FPX have done their due diligence. They've gotten 3 dragons for themselves. It's given them a lot of breathing room around if they want to try to contest for a soul or not. Maybe you try to get cross-map plays, things like that. But it needs to come at an efficient cost, right? Because you're already on 3 items for Xiaohu. He's got the rapid fire now. Again, we've already highlighted so many times it's not going to be easy to take this fight against Weibo. And they're still picking up gold that's standing on the map.
Yeah, they have themselves the 4 groves, which make it so much easier for them. See that way, but they're not even rushing towards the dragon, or the push out mid lane. I mean, force FPX to show themselves on the map. I think this is intelligent for them. Now there's an inside track towards mid lane inner. When you see if anyone's going to wave clear, Deokdam just shows over the wall. Like, can get himself some poke. Bloodthirst means it's less valuable, but what the dragons give you is options, and FPX do get themselves something. I don't know if they're winning this trade, though. Cannon's getting a lot of gold out of this bot lane, both the outer turret, now the inner turret might even just fall in its entirety.
Finally get ZDZ over there to deal with it. Is going to be able to wave clear that one away at least. There is movement from FPX over on this top side, but they just need to find a way to get out of this one as Weibo going to be moving in and get their own vision up here. Dragon has spawned. Weibo may be moving across the mid lane over to that. ZDZ clearing out the side lane for FPX.
I think that, Weibo make the right choice here. It would be very easy just to go tankless. Great damage from Light. But like Weibo making the right decision to not immediately go towards the dragon. Get as much out of the map as you can. FPX still on contending it. You can get yourself something more if possible. MilkyWay throws out the ult, gets some good poke through with the Shadow Flame Nash's build, which is much higher AP than the build we saw earlier today. You are squishy though, and of course your ult is also your escape if you use that to go into your artillery mode. as you deal with this Emax AP Shyvana, you are much less safe. You need to be very, very careful with this. He might have overstayed here, in fact. Very careful here. Chris might be able to engage onto him. It's not very tanky.
Run, Dragon, run! Got the speed up there, at least. Oh, bot lane, though. Culling. They're going to flash for it. Xiaohu, he gets the kill on his EDZ. They've lost all their pressured side lane. They lose a tier 2 tower down there as well, and that cannot happen for FPX.
Weibo attacked the source of the global. The Destiny Gate not able to go help ZDZ because he's the only one there to respond to himself. The FPX, they kind of forget that Weibo are very good at playing on the wider map. This is the team that last year would play 1-3-1, and this year they have definitely dropped into that occasionally. Xiaohu's the one that shows it first. Breathe pops out of that brush, and ZDZ is just not ready for it. He doesn't have himself his Exhauster, his Flash. He used them for the earlier 1-for-1, and now he doesn't have them for this kind of play. Dies on that side lane, gives more gold over to Xiaohu and Breathe as the solo laners of Weibo. Very, very happy to pick up that gold from the inner turret, and then, of course, the kill.
Now, it's looking a little dicey for Epi. I want to take some time to maybe look at the land, the kind of lay of the land, at least for FPX, because we've talked so much about how it's going to be hard for them to get into these, but MilkyWay really needs to get some consistent poke out against these, and we do finally have Care getting towards his item breakpoints, but still pretty far away from that third for him, and that is a true unlocking potential for FPX, but it might come too late.
I almost wonder whether MilkyWay is going to be allowed to poke at the same time. Because if he's jumping forward and sitting around, I think that Weibo just make a play somewhere else on the map. There's no obligation for Weibo to sit in a 5-man blob. They don't have to death ball. They can just sit and they can split. Particularly when you've got Xiaohu and Breathe, who are very, very experienced at playing 3-1-3-1. In fact, Xiaohu is one of the most experienced 1-3-1 players in the entire history of the game. And he's on good form here today as well. He's got a power point in that Lucian. I think that MilkyWay is looking to burst onto a target that's caught out by a gold card, but FPX are going to have a pretty harsh task now where they're playing against very quickly pushed plays. Here comes Chris right onto MilkyWay.
Right there, and MilkyWay forced to use the Dragon's Descent defensively. Equalizer comes away, a lot of burn damage. Oh, bullet time coming over, Crisp. Very low in the end, and there you go. Deokdam finishes him off with the flash. That's going to be a big pick-off by FPX as Weibo no longer have their front line as much.
And you've got MilkyWay running out of his Dragon form, though. There's a lot of their range going down. Do they have their playmaking opportunities? Well, they have Care with a flash and all. That can very much help, especially with Tarzan now not having flash. Yeah, Tarzan, lower HP, no flash. I think this is a Baron over to FPX, unless Weibo can find a way to contest with Breathe with his flash and his ult.
Life not willing to give any more of his life over. Here comes Care. He gets the combo. There you go. The flash is coming forward. Xiaohu going to get the big trade, though. Back into the Baron pit. FPX are trying to fight out. MilkyWay! MilkyWay! He's dead to the Baron! Breathe comes around. Deokdam trying to get it back, but a double kill for Breathe, and Weibo make them hurt.
FPX have a good entrance into this phase of play. They managed to take the flash out of Tarzan and also take down Chris. That might have been the go button for them, but there's just so much damage everywhere on the map. Teleport back in from Breathe without his ultimate. That could have been risky.
ZDZ, step back. ZDZ, step back, bro. Oh my goodness, the avalanche has come. The double thumbs up there, but it's going to be a sad one for FPX.
Where was Care? I thought Care would be able to take the 2v1 there, but Breathe commits to the teleport and that flash, and suddenly, from what started with FPX making this series of plays, they can't defend this Baron very easily, and they're going to have to now respond to the Baron start from Weibo.
Weibo are making a mountain out of a molehill. They do end up getting one body down. Care getting a big trade back, but they're right back onto the Baron here, and there is no smite in the vicinity. That'll be a Baron buff and a Baron power play to Weibo.
How did this end up with Weibo getting the Baron? After all that, how does this happen? They find themselves the Baron. Dragon spawning in a minute. They will be able to get themselves a reset on top of that. Breathe will also just be in time for the fight if he's lucky enough. This starts with Crisp going straight onto MilkyWay, but he has flash and he has ult. It's enough safety for him to get out of that. Crisp, a little bit too far. Crisp, just a little bit over-ambitious. He's been that for a lot of this year, so hey, whatever. We know that from Crispy. Gets taken down by Deokdam. Deokdam, of course, has no flash after this point. MilkyWay has no ult after this point, so that is a lot of fighting potential still down from FPX. Tarzan leads forward with his big combo. I think it's a big moment here, too, for Xiaohu to somehow get himself that kill through onto life, too. Just get himself a 1-for-1. But still, no, at this point, it still looks okay for FPX. Care's still alive.
Oh, my God.
They end up just getting 2 chunks out, and Breed somehow gets a huge combo back. Deokdam's left alone. The Baron giving a huge assist over to Weibo really helps them keep things even there. Dragon is now spawning. You do have ult for Breathe, but no flash. Chris doesn't have his flash, but he has his ultimate as well. Can FPX out team fight their way through to an Ocean Soul?
Breathe just made 2 back-to-back hero plays, and he might not be done yet. Crisp on the other side. Requiem has already come through to get that initial damage down. Xiaohu's in the pit now. ZDZ Destiny over on a Crisp.
Ooh.
As they do end up moving FPX out of the front of the pit. They don't have an entrance back in, and it'll be yet another Dragon denied against FPX.
Huge combo from Tarzan and from Light. They get themselves that ultimate. Multiple items, of course, on Tarzan at this point. Not proccing the Dark Harvest. They were too high HP, but still getting good damage all the same. And then Light gets himself that ult across 2 as well. Suddenly, you have Weibo pushing into the side of the map.
Oh
Xiaohu!
my God! CDZ is just eviscerated! Although Crisp on the other side is going to be burned to a Crisp there himself. Xiaohu laying down the damage. Double kill for the man himself, Weibo. They're on the push and they're on the move. This is heartbreaking for FPX as all the momentum has gone to Weibo.
It has, and FPX, how the hell did it end up like this when they had Soul Point and they managed to win the initial part of that trade around the Baron just before this? Weibo there, they are improvisers, they are, and they have managed to make themselves a heck of a composition out of this one. Now Care caught out in the side lane. It looks like ZDZ is dead. He won't be able to respond, and Care is overstayed now. There are multiple people here from Weibo. This is probably quite a dead Yone.
He's going to try to outplay it as best he can. Slice Maelstrom coming out. He's not going to get very far with it, though, and he does get the knockup, but Light ends up claiming that one. The Baron power play very well. Over 3,000 gold for Weibo, and they have 6,000 gold lead over FPX.
I'm still waiting for the Dragon Ball power play where we get over 9,000. That'll be the day. If someone,
One of these days.
One of these
We've
days,
gotten
I'll
close.
get a catch with that one. We've gotten pretty close before. It turns out it's really hard to get that amount of gold, even when you're a really good team. Maybe you need like a Pike and a Draven to cash in at the same time, still count towards it. But hey, FPX, they are currently seeing Weibo go Super Saiyan, particularly I think Xiaohu. His early game, he was shut down a lot more, but even then his little lane trades were absolutely absurd. He's up 1.6 thousand gold. He's at 4 items on the Lucian. Xiaohu, has been a magnificent return to form from him since that group stage. It has been long in waiting, and that criticism before that point was very much valid as well. I'm not taking that away from anyone, but Xiaohu being back has given Weibo another set of legs to be at least a contender in the Ascension group, and potentially a contender going in towards playoffs as well if they end up winning through today. Very good likelihood that they will be starting beyond that first round of playoffs as well. We'll see exactly what they can do with that one. Because currently they're sat in that 4th place margin, and they can see themselves locked into 4th with a win here.
You can get some really good consistency from them towards the end, because that's also something to look back at. As Breathe not even going to look back at nothing, because he's going for the kill to CDZ, and he gets him too. It will give the kill back to MilkyWay.
The ultimate comes in from Karthus, and once again, it's not an honorable 1v1. MilkyWay at least assists this time and gets himself something. I'm not sold on this particular version of the Shyvana build in this game. The problem is you're just very, very squishy. I think if you're in the right position, you can get yourself some good poke, but as we said, there's no obligation for them to sit there and be in a range for you to poke in. They'll just go somewhere else on the map where the Shyvana isn't. I think that MilkyWay would have maybe preferred to go towards the Shojin, Leandri's build, so we could at least chase down someone who's out of position and go onto a Karthus who's notoriously very immobile, and maybe you can burst through them. Wonder if that could have changed things for them. Of course, it's a very bursty build if you get yourself the perfect wombo combo, but FPX just haven't been able to find that either. So this first time for MilkyWay playing it, it's been banned away from him a lot. Not necessarily convinced with how he's playing or building it in this one.
See if it actually ends up mattering. I will say something that does matter is that 3-item spike for carry, though it is pretty far behind what maybe you would want for it, and you're getting like 4th items, almost full builds for the side of Weibo. It's still something. All right, it's still something for FPX to hold on to. Again, also, they still have another series after this one.
You are such a wonderful hopium.
I am the hopium salesman of LPL.
Yeah.
I literally have a stand and everything.
I'll be there being like, I don't know, like disappointed dad or something, like when these teams like, come on, you probably shouldn't be making that play around the drug. Come on, folks, let's just at least finish your vegetables, FPX.
I'll just be there. Step right up. We got hopium. Any team you want in the LPL, I got you.
Look, I expect the best out of our teams, but we have to call them out when they don't quite match that margin as well. FPX, a lot of the series they've had, even in their wins, have been weird. They haven't necessarily shown a lot of confidence in those series. They've had to clutch things out. NIP in the LGD series, go back and watch those game 2s. They had to clutch them out in hyper late game. Now, FPX, they do have a semblance of, they have a bit of aura when it comes to the late game. But guess what? 30, 35 minutes. This team just does wild things when everyone has huge amounts of items. In this game, it's quite hard. I think that Weibo are also a team which are pretty happy to go towards the hyper late game as well. That's the TF ult popped by ZDZ. They will spot the Baron going down and they'll trade it for side lane gold instead because they do not want to face Weibo around that top side of the map.
Yeah, they can't even hope to at this point. There is the true shot. Oh my goodness.
Wow, okay.
It's 4 members. Both MilkyWay and Life are very worse for wear. Weibo's going for a deep one right now. There's the Requiem. Oh no, FPX. The walls are closing in here. You're being surrounded.
Using the wall to get some vision. That ultimate stops the recalls coming through. They can use that vision plan. Yeah, FPX, they've been stopped from recalling. This is what's happening. They're being herded together. Xiaohu's burst.
MilkyWay trying to get away. Everybody's starting to get their backs off. Here comes Breed. Breed by himself. He is caught out, though. Here comes Crisp, though, to get the difference. He does get one back. MilkyWay has gone Dragon Ascend. Has now Light over there, stepping up. Xiaohu and Light, though, they have an angle. Oh, that was an arcade shift forward. They know what they're coming for, and it's for the heads of the Phoenix. A couple quick ones. True shot barrage coming up at MilkyWay. He's got to run his way away. He's in the bush. He's going to try to run out here. Xiaohu, he's got a distance. He's got the dash. He's got the damage. Needs one more, though. Crisp coming on the other side. Dragon is down for FPX. Xiaohu claims that kill. And the Dragon, the real one, was trying to be attempted by Care, and he completely gets taken away from it. And it's a 3rd Dragon in a row for Weibo.
Yeah, I don't think Weibo care if you got the power of a dragon or a phoenix or whatever mythical beast. It just doesn't matter today. Weibo, they're coming together mighty fine in terms of their form. FPX, they have struggled up here in the Ascension group versus a lot of our top teams, and Weibo have shown a better level of form than we've seen from them in the entire year so far. Xiaohu finds himself at 3.6k and he's going back in.
They actually got Xiaohu here. That's big shutdown money going over. Light also goes to a shutdown to ZDC. The man just picked up 1,800 gold in one heck of a play. Although Breathe ends up handling on the other side. It's a triple kill to ZDC, but Breathe, he's going down. No, the Requiem isn't going to be enough. Deokdam, he's healing so much from that Bloodthirster. The defense is there for FPX, but they lose so much.
Right, so we did say FPX, there's a little bit of aura around them in late game. Sad thing is, Weibo also have that. This is an absolute mess. Just like that first game, the skirmishes just explode at random and they can be wildly varying depending on who's going down first. This time it's Xiaohu and Light that goes down, so it gives a good option for FPX to go forwards, and ZDZ against his former team, against the team he started this year on with Xiaohu, is that top jungle combination who then departed coming into summer. Gets some really good value here. Xiaohu rather. Man, too many of those players have similar names from that earlier roster. ZDZ gets himself right on top of Xiaohu. Care helps get on top of Light as well. The extra CC coming through from that Yone ultimate, very powerful. Problem is he pops right back in to Breathe, who goes right back. It takes 2 kills. Breathe not willing to leave this one completely against that flash sword. Then, of course, he dies after that point too, because Deokdam, Deokdam ends up getting his own healing after. Look, it was so messy, it's quite hard to remember exactly what happened in terms of those kills. We now have ourselves a point where we have 3 dragons apiece. Baron's up in 3 minutes, Dragon's up at a similar time spawn point, and we will have to see again that late game improvisation coming from both teams. FPX have won a handful of series like this, but Weibo, they know this game. They are very intimately familiar with the hyper late game, with all of the veterancy they have on their roster.
And they have full builds for Xiaohu, very close to it for Light as well. The damage will be pumping. That's why we look back to that double-edged sword that FPX drew for themselves here in this second game. It started off so strong, but you have to be able to finish it. And right now, Care is about to be finished by Weibo as MilkyWay uses the Dragon's Descent to try to get some damage onto the wave there. They do lose the inhib turret on bot side. Not going to lose the inhibs just yet, though.
Yeah, given how much of a fist fight this game has been, that finish might be a Mortal Kombat finisher at this point, going towards the X-ray. We'll see which side it goes towards. FPX, I think they're feeling a little bit more on the ropes, though. Down a huge amount of gold into this late game, and I think with the GA on Xiaohu, it's so hard to get rid of that damage instantly on one side. Care has been struggling to have impact on the other. Look at the damage for the Lucian.
He has no hope. The Requiem, it's done. Tarzan gets the first kill, and that might signal the avalanche that we've been building up for Weibo to come to bear. As FPX have been cooled, they've been frozen. Their loss streak is looking like it's about to continue on. And Weibo, in their last series of this Rumble stage, have pulled themselves back from the brink of a terrible early game. And Breathe goes golden. By time, Care's just gone. The no minion wave here, though, does mean that Weibo are a little bit dicey. Only half health left on this Nexus turret. And Weibo, they've done it. Life, he's going down to one more engage from Weibo. And Crisp against his old team. And in their finishing game, Weibo take a 2-0 over the Phoenix.
Weibo lock themselves top 4. We've had a lot of playoffs implications coming through and group implications from today's series. We saw Invictus Gaming make it through earlier in the day. We saw LNG make top 2 just before this as well. Now Weibo get themselves a rung higher up on the level. So FPX, sadly for them, will not be able to get themselves higher up in the standings from this series at least. They have one left to see if they can maybe leapfrog over anyone's legend and see if they can get themselves into a better standing for that. Weibo, they're better than they were in groups. They look a lot better than some of their games in the Ascension group as well. FPX, they have ended up struggling as a